Hey everyone, welcome to Witchy Wednesday. Probably took you by surprise this week as I didn't advertise on Facebook for it. So, kind of got a long one, and I actually cut a whole lot out of what I was going to talk about tonight. I'm just going to try to keep it really simple, just throw out some basic ideas and facts about the god Dionysus, or as I call him, Mr. D. So, why do I call him Mr. D, you ask? Well, mostly to show my affection and closeness to a deity that's so close to humans and empathizes with us. So if you've ever been to a ritual in his honor and seen the excitement grow and the electricity in the air as people prepare, the dancing, drinking, and just wild energy raised in his name, you wouldn't question it. Mr. D brings people together and connects them in ecstasy. So yeah, Dionysus, the lovely bull roarer, which is one of my favorite epitaphs for him, besides Liberator, of course. He himself loves being called the bull roarer, by the way. So Homer called him the joy of men. He was also held during a symposium. His Roman equivalent to the to almost being pretty much interchangeable is Bacchus. His symbolism: the bull, the ivy, the wine and grapes, serpents, lions, figs. He's often shown riding a leopard or wearing leopard skin. A cantharos, which is a large two-handled goblet, is also part of his symbolism. He's often shown drinking from it or carrying it. Offerings: incense, wine, grapes, and ivy. Keep it simple for this god. He loves it. He also likes olive oil too, but those are the main things you would want to offer. He's sometimes considered chthonic or chthonic from his early worship. He was born part divine and part human until Herod demanded he became the last or the 12th Olympian. More on that another time if you choose that. We're going to discuss him again. It was suggested to me by a close friend last night. I don't know why I didn't think of it myself when I got a hold of them. I just, I don't know. Sometimes connecting yourself is to things that are like right in front of you, I guess, is hard. Anyway, so if you want to talk more about him and get more in depth with him later, I'll get into more stories like that. But I just thought I would mention it. So he's the god of the grape harvest and fruitfulness and vegetation. Some connect his older depictions of him and to Demeter and grain. Intoxication and influence, spiritual intoxication, which is awesome. Winemaking, fertility, ritual madness, ritual ecstasy, and the theater. His festivals were the driving force behind the theater. I've read quite a lot. So he was thought to have been worshipped since 13th century BCE or earlier by Mycenaean Greeks. There was a Linear B tablet they found, an archaeological team did, which led them to this conclusion. So traces of a Dionysus cult have possibly also been found in Minoan Crete. It's kind of iffy with debating. I myself think so, probably. He's another deep old deity whose origins are uncertain. And and he's suspected to have a very primal beginning, which I said he's a very deep-rooted deity, and you feel it. Anyone who has felt his energy probably would not argue that either. So, the Thracian and Greek cultures suggest he came from Asia. Others suggested Ethiopia. He's known as the Wanderer, where he was said to wander to Asia and introduce them to the mysteries of the vine. So wherever he came from, though, he's a god of epiphanies. He's a major figure in Greek religion and culture. I know I've had a few epiphanies in connecting with him. It's why he's one of my favorite gods. Some of the earliest cult images depict a mature older male with purple robes holding a fennel staff tipped with a pine cone. Osiris. Later we see a more semi-androgynous and sensuous naked or half-naked younger man. I see him both ways, but the second way more often. Could be because he knows I choose that for him, or maybe that's how he chooses to be seen by people now. It wouldn't surprise me with the way society sees youth and age that he would choose to be a pretty boy or a pretty young man. So his procession is made up of the Maenads, wild female followers and devotees, and also satyrs. They dance, sing, and play instruments. Mr. D himself is in a chariot drawn by lions and tigers and attended to by his drunken attendant Silenus. This procession is an example of his early followers for and by the followers of his mysteries. He's a protector of those who do not belong to conventional society. To me, that's kind of a Hecatean connection, as well as the Chthonic thing. This is probably why he and Hecate's energies work together real great. He represents chaos, danger, and the unexpected escape of reason through ritual. This escape of reason is freedom. And it ties you to your higher self. This here, I believe, is one of his most important mysteries. And one I try to remember to just let go. So his cult was also called the Cult of Souls. Or so I've read. With his Maenads feeding the dead with blood offerings. He himself is the divine communicator between the living and the dead. Being a living and dying god, which we can get more into that later if you want to hear more about Dionysus. So as a living and dying god, he can speak to the dead. And that's possibly why his Maenads understand the need for tribute in this fashion. Or just choose to pay tribute to this aspect or facet of this god. So the sacred bread and wine, Phagia, started early with Dionysus, a precursor to a transubstantiation. It differed in that it was the act of eating raw flesh and drinking wine to achieve communion with Dionysus. In turn, consuming the offered beast that was first offered by himself, if you follow me here. And his creation, his gift to humanity, the wine that they would drink. He offered us this gift to be touched by him when you drink the wine. When the wine touches your lips, you're touched by him. It's a deep communion. And that communion brings you freedom and liberation. So his cult was closely associated with trees, especially the fig. A by name he has of dendrites, he of the tree, or he who runs among the trees, and runner in the woods. So I don't see much on that a lot in my studies, but I've seen it mentioned enough times to mention it here. So there are variants to this story, or his birth story, I guess. But Cliff's version is Hera found out he was Zeus's son. Most likely. Okay. Caused his mother's death. Zeus saved him from the womb while his mother was dying. One of the versions is they sewed him in his thigh and took him to a remote island to be born. More variants of this story are here as well. He put him in the care shortly after he was born of Hermes. Another chthonic connection. Who, after a while of caring for him, grew fearful of Hera's wrath if she should find them. Right? So, he left him in the care of the women who would become his devout maenads. They raised him, they recognized his divinity, and later took care of each other and worshipped him, which he in turn prized them above all else. Hi, Krista. So, he's said to have wandered Asia as well. I mentioned that already, though, for the cultivation of the vine. He was one of the few Olympians with the power to remove the deceased from the underworld and restore them to life. True life. And he did this for his mother. He's also, for this, said to guide reincarnation. The Dionysia and Linnea festivals. He's on many Linnea vases with his followers. He's depicted on many of them. They're in Athens, and they were dedicated to him. The Dionysian mysteries were also linked to the Orphic mysteries as well. His mysteries were said to be restricted to women only. Kind of a, I don't know. I suppose it didn't happen often. Where they would be driven into a maddened frenzy, these women. They would run and kill and dismember animals they found. Prophecies were also said to be uttered here, and I think that's what scared the Romans most of all. They were considered a secretive and revolutionary counterculture by the Romans. I think the men were just scared and jealous that they couldn't be in everything and running everything. So either way, Rome suppressed the cult with a ferocity that almost matched the Maenads' madness, executing those they found. He represented the sap, juice, or lifeblood in nature. So lavish orgy rituals were instituted in his honor. The men, of course, had issue with the sexual freedom of women, and many who challenged this were said to have been struck impotent for dishonoring Mr. D's cult. With Dionysus, the women did as they pleased and took to the woods. They danced, performed secret rites unknown to the Roman men, and were possessed with such strength they were said to tear living victims to pieces and indulged in morphagia, or the ritual feast. They were also said to uproot trees with their bare hands when they got into these frenzies. I won't get into all the details here. Like I said, I can talk about more later even, if you want to hear more about Mr. D later at a later date. But the wine offered the power to transcend yourself, as I've said earlier. Something else they didn't want women having. Transcendence. Hell Dionysus. So extra fearful to the Romans now, because, you know, it's not crazy enough that women are running around doing stuff in the dark. Extra fearful to them was the fact that he was present through his followers, wherein you could be through the wine that you would drink, wherein you could be possessed by Dionysus while drinking wine, reaching higher epiphanies, touching your higher self. So they would be possessed by supernatural powers capable of things they normally couldn't do. I've done this before, most recently in Saginaw. Whenever I drink, I think of Dionysus, actually, and or Pan. And I don't normally get wasted. A few times in my life, actually. Less than you can count on a whole hand. Well, for biological factors with my glycemia and such, I didn't realize it. So I went and quickly found myself pretty fucking wasted. And I pee a lot when I drink. Now, if it's my sugar issues, sugar in the drink, whatever. But I'd go in the bathroom about 1,000,000 times, and I saw this really, to me, most offensive sign that unfortunately, with the state of the world and the way society does things, many of you wouldn't look twice at. It's a baby calf, so bull connection there, got me. Hi, Anthony. Sorry I didn't advertise it before I went on. I was running kind of late. So the bull connection there. Anthony was there that night. Actually, he left before all that happened. But he saw the start of it. Anyway, it pissed me off enough that I was able to take this bolted, not screwed, bolted sign, rip it out of the wall by my hands. And, well, I threw it away afterwards. But, yep. Power of Mr. D compelled me. Anyway, I guess 9 o'clock is a little too late because I noticed we didn't have very many people on like we normally do. So, hi, Christy. You're catching the tail end of it. So, yeah, I think I'm going to, just have to start planning better and be on by 8:15. That way more people can catch this live if you wish. If nobody on the Facebook side here has anything to say about Dionysus, if you guys have anything to say about him or you want have any questions to ask or whatever, feel free. I'll give you a second or two to think about it, and then I guess I'll log off here. Also, people in my Phoenix Fire Academy, I guess you've gotten most of this information in a file. I like to recycle my files after a couple of years and share it with the public, but people in my academy, they get the information for a couple of years before everybody else gets to see it. And that wasn't even the whole file. That was just a small part of it, so bits and pieces of it. He's a party guy. Yeah, he's offers you, like I was saying, he is within you when you partake of the wine and offers you religious ecstasy and liberation. Plus, yeah, it's fun to party with him. All right, everyone. I will see you guys next week for Witchy Wednesday. I'm not sure what I'll talk about. It'll probably be Pan. Probably be the great god Pan. I started writing something about him, but I'm a little more nervous and particular about what I present for Pan, as I'm kind of exploring a relationship with him right now. So, you know, it's, yeah. So, yep, probably Pan next week. Meditation Mondays. I apologize they didn't start this week. There was something going on, so Krista will be kicking it off next week. If you're still on, Krista, I don't know if you want to say who you're writing the meditation about. Most all of these will probably be written by the person who takes you through these meditative journeys. So they'll be unique in the fact that they'll be presented to you by each person, who will in turn tell you a little bit about themselves and about, you know, their relation to the ritual, or sorry, meditation, and then take you through it. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. We'll start out with weekly and see how that goes and see if we need to adjust it from there. Our Witches Tea Saginaw Tea Talk. It's usually the fourth Wednesday. It will be the 5th, or, you know, next week, next Wednesday at the Red Eye at 6 o'clock till about 8 or so. And then if you're so inclined, bring your drums and your rattles and your instruments and go on by the river with us after our tea talk, and we'll have a drumming circle for about an hour or so till we're compelled to stop, I guess. If you like, we could raise energy for deity. That's up to you, but we'll at least be drumming at the very least. So I hope to see everybody there, and I'll see you for next Witchy Wednesday. Bye, everybody.